when we went to IKEA, we found this. Yes, IKEA. IKEA sells crawfish, so I thought it would be a good idea to make paella with the crawfish. And then I found these at Sabon Foods. It's a seafood medley that has shrimp, scallops, mussels, and clam meat. I'm not going to use the scallop. I'm just going to use the shrimp, mussels, and the clam meat for the paella. I also bought, I couldn't find the Spanish rice, so I ended up buying arborio rice, which is what you would normally use to make risotto. And I also bought, since I'm doing a Spanish cuisine tonight, I also bought some fruits, lemon and some oranges and apple, and also Del Monte pineapple. So as you can probably tell, or probably not, but I'm going to be making sangria. So sangria, Spain, since we're going to be doing a theme here, I thought, why not make sangria? So let's get started. Our paella, I've got the chicken broth. I don't have the seafood or fish broth or anything, so I'm just going to use chicken broth. Red bell peppers. I use the small red bell peppers, and then I slice that. I'm using dried parsley, 1/4 cup of lemon juice, and a whole lemon, which we're gonna cut in wedges. About maybe a teaspoon and a half of paprika, and the safflower, olive oil, pepper, salt, 5 cloves of garlic, and some onions that I've chopped up. We're going to use 3 cups of arborio rice and the seafood medley that we bought, the seafood medley I should say. There's not enough mussels, so I went ahead and bought a separate pack of mussels that's already pre-seasoned. I've got some raw shrimp, about a small bowl, and some squid. And also, we're going to be using the crawfish that I got from IKEA. Boiling the crayfish in a pot, and I'm just boiling it for maybe about 10 minutes to cook, and then we'll add that towards the end when we're making the paella. I'm just gonna boil, I'm just gonna warm up the chicken broth in a saucepan. I just have it on a medium high because there's still some fat forming on the top of this broth, so I'm just gonna go ahead and warm it up. There we go. We're just gonna wait for that to warm up until all that fat on the top, we're gonna skim all that fat, and then we're gonna go ahead and warm it up and let that simmer for a few minutes. Okay, so the crawfish is done boiling, so we're just going to remove that from the heat and strain it. Okay, so I'm just warming up some water in our kettle, and then we're going to pour this into our saffron. So we're just going to put the hot water. Okay, and we're just going to let the saffron dilute in the hot water until all the color, until it releases all the color, which is going to be sort of yellow, like golden yellow. Okay, let's get started. I have a paella pan that I'm using, but you don't need to use a paella pan. You can use a large skillet, or you can use like a roasting pan, which is wide enough and it has a lot of room to mix all your ingredients. But I'm using a paella pan that I have. So the pan is hot. I'm just going to add some olive oil. And then we're going to add the onions. And just saute the onions. Okay, once the onions has been sauteed, we're going to add the garlic. So I just keep sauteing the onions and garlic in the pan. Okay, now we're going to add the diced tomato. Okay, now that we've added the tomatoes, now we're going to add the bell peppers, the red bell peppers. So we'll just let that saute for a few more minutes. Okay, we're just going to go ahead and season this. We get some bell pepper there, and add some pepper, and then add some salt. Sometimes Spanish paella calls for different ingredients. Sometimes you would include chicken, and sometimes you would also add chorizo. But I'm not using both of those ingredients. I'm just going to be making this strictly seafood paella. Okay, so now I'm going to add the squid or the calamari. Again, you don't have to add the calamari, but I have some calamari, so some squid, so I'm gonna add that in there. Okay, now I'm going to add the seafood medley, the mussels, the shrimp, the clam, and the scallop. We're going to add some more mussels later. towards the end, but this is just a small pack of seafood medley that I bought that should add flavor to this paella. So we're just going to mix that for a few minutes, and then we're going to add the rice. Okay, now we're going to add the arbora rice. So we're going to add about 4 cups of this. That's 3. And 4. So we're just going to mix the rice, making sure you get all that good stuff in the bottom, all that toasty bits in the bottom, because that will add a lot of flavor to the rice. You want the rice to soak up all that flavor. Okay, now that the rice is coated with all of that delicious ingredients that we sauteed earlier, we're going to go ahead and add the stock. Okay, so I have the stock warmed up earlier, so we're just going to pour that all over the pan. And we're just going to continue mixing that. Okay, so now that we've added the rice, we're also going to add the saffron. So that would add a lot of color to our dish. So we'll just mix that saffron into the rice. Okay, so we're just going to let that simmer for a little bit until the rice is cooked. Then we're going to add our the green peas and then the rest of the ingredients. Go ahead and season it if you feel like you need more salt or you need more black pepper. And then just continue mixing this. You don't want to burn the rice, so you just gotta keep stirring and mixing this. Okay guys, so just a little known fact, saffron is one of the most expensive spices in the world. I think the reason why is because when you're harvesting this in the field, it's very labor intensive because you need a lot of workers and laborers to go to the field and like do it by hand, and they try to separate the saffron from the stigma of the flower. So and it has to be done by hand. You can't you know, do it by machine or any other method. The best way to harvest this saffron is by hand, and also by doing it by hand, you're not damaging the other parts of the flower. So that's probably why this spice is easily one of the most expensive spices in the world. And the country that produces a lot of this saffron is Iran. Although other countries such as Morocco, Spain, Italy, Netherlands, and even the United States also produce saffron. I'm going to add some paprika to this. Add a little bit of heat. Okay, and then we're going to add the peas. And then we'll just continue mixing that. And we're just going to add a little bit of parsley, dried parsley. We're going to add the shrimp. I'm just arranging this to make it look nice. There we go. Our paella is almost done. We're just going to add the last piece of the seafood, which is the crayfish or crawfish as they call it. So I'm just going to add this in there. It's already cooked, so we're just gonna warm it up in the pan along with the mussels and the shrimp. I removed the shrimp. I'm just gonna add that towards the end because it's the shrimp doesn't take that long to cook, just a few minutes, and it should be done. As long as when you see the shrimp turn pink, that means it's done. So if it turns pink on both sides, the shrimp is done. Okay, here is our finished product. This is our paella, our seafood paella. I've just added the shrimp at the end, as well as the slices of lemon all around. There we go. Here's our paella. And here is our paella. It's all done. Look at that. So good. It's very tedious to make, but I finally finished it. Okay guys, so I'm gonna make a sangria. I'm just gonna cut up some apples. Angelica from the Okanagan. So I'm just going to use this. Just about. Oh, okay. There we are, and we're just going to pour it in our pitcher. There we go. And then we're going to add a little bit of, okay, so I'm going to try a little bit, I'm going to add a little bit of sparkling wine. It's a pink sparkling wine. And also a little bit of the blood orange Schweppes sparkling soda. So I use this Schweppes, and I also use the Bling sparkling wine. Okay, and then we're just going to mix this. Okay, so this is ready to be put in the fridge and to cool. Okay, so let's see how this paella tastes like. Looks good so far. Some mussels. All right, so here's our plate. Let's dig in. Okay. Just gonna squeeze some lemon. That is really good. That's our sangria, our paella. It's my plate.